do the editing and all that later on. Hi, welcome everyone. So good to have with you today. Today is 26th of June, and I'm sitting here at my Bangalore residence here, and way back and far, I actually in Gujarat, I have with me one of the most celebrated podcaster, or should we say, a celebrated speaker with me today, and delighted to have. A topic that everyone's been speaking a lot, and everyone's been often I open LinkedIn or any other forum, and we keep on reading at that point of a time AI, and so I thought like I'll have one of the experts in the field of cybersecurity also, and I thought like he will come and he will share his views, and because most of my audience are from the technical writing community as well as from the information technology fraternity, I thought of doing a podcast on how is it possible, or at the end of the day, can AI secure us or make us more vulnerable? So as usual, I'll make the podcast informal. There's not going to be this is not going to be a Q&A format with stuff for that matter. And I am so delighted to have with me today Dr. Drijesh Patel, who's an engineering manager at IBM with over 15 years of experience building secure, scalable, and AI-driven system. His work spans generative AI, cybersecurity, cloud technologies, DevSecOps, and engineering leadership, and with a very strong foundation on helping organizations adopt AI responsibly while maintaining security and resilience. Beyond his corporate role, Dr. Drijesh is a well-known speaker, mentor, and technology evangelist. He has delivered hundreds of talks, mentored aspiring professionals, and is very passionate about translating complex technology into practical insights that organizations can actually implement. So much so that I cannot put this up in a slide like this, but I do have his website in drijeshpatel.in. So when you get an opportunity, please go there, and you have a lot of things that you can read out for him. Delighted to have Dr. Drijesh with me today, and we will hope to have a sort of an informal conversation with him today. And hopefully, this podcast is going to attract quite a few, make you feel more excited, make you feel more interested in AI and cybersecurity, and hopefully we get to do a lot more talks in the coming future also. Just to put a disclaimer, I have got two little kids out here who might be making a bit of noise, so sorry about that if you guys are actually going to have some stuff related to that. But I'm delighted to have Dr. Drijesh, and uh, so let's start off with good evening, sir. How are you?
And good evening, Razgam. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that introduction. Uh, I am delighted to finally make it today, and hopefully it will be worthwhile for you and for your audience listening whenever they are.
Indeed, indeed. And so we'll start off straight away.
Mhm.
So I'll start off with the question, or let's start off with something that, as I said, everyone is talking about, AI, and people are also talking about people are talking about the security implications.
Hmm.
How do you see the relationship between um, Gen AI and cybersecurity today, to start off?
So I'll start with an example for this. Right? You all know what an F1 car is, right? Everybody has seen a Formula One car. Now that F1 car in the hands of a right driver can take it places. Like for example, can even win the championship. However, that F1 car in the hand of a novice or somebody who doesn't understand that might end up in an accident. And that same thing applies to AI and cybersecurity here. This both things in the hands of right people can work marvels. Whereas when this goes into the hand of bad people or what we call as bad actors in security, this is where the havoc happens. And this is a deadly combination in today's era where cybersecurity alone was a niche earlier. Now it has become accessible to everybody, I'll say, because people now don't need to understand the nuances of uh, how to breach a certain system or a certain area of network. And that is the reason I'll say any Tom, Dick, and Harry nowadays has all the resources to become a cyber criminal.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that is also like technology is one of the disadvantages, not disadvantages, but we need to sort of always add this something.
Mhm.
So is it a worry sort of a thing to start off with this particular thing, or what excites you the most from your or what is you most about Gen AI?
So what happens here? For the I'll take a what happens in the background, right? I'll give a how does it work in the background. So you might have seen all those movies, right, where they have huge screens, a huge room where people are sitting, and there are screens where things logs are coming, etc. And that is a actual thing that most of the bigger organizations have. That is called a SOC center, Security Operations Center, and that is where everything that is happening within organization's network that is being tracked there. Now, imagine what you are one of the analysts who has that job of every day coming and analyzing those events that are happening, alerts or whatever you call it. Now, if you are one of the analysts and morning, whenever you log in, you see 15,000 alerts every morning. So, do you think humanly it is possible for you to go after all of those alerts and find out what is important here? And this is where AI comes in. Like AI can summarize that and actually give you out of all these 15,000 alerts, these are the five ones that actually matter to you. So rather than you searching for that needle in the haystack, the needle comes to you directly and say, this is the needle, use this, and now you can thread wherever you want to go. And that is how this completely changes how security teams work. So, and I don't have a worry here, but I have some inhibition where what is happening is people are trusting AI blindly.
Hmm.
So it is like, for example, you are signing a legal document without even reading it. The same thing
Correct.
people trust or people take for granted whatever AI has generated. It can be a code, it can be some recommendation, anything,
Hmm.
without even reviewing that. And that is something that worries me
Hmm.
because AI is not going to replace us. I'll answer the big question here, right? People have their concerns and people have been asking that question since years now. But people who trust it blindly, they will be replaced.
Hmm.
And because that is not something that any AI model, AI tool today is being used for. It is just to augment our capability to make sure we are not repeating our mistakes and help us operate faster. It is what excites me, and that is what probably cybersecurity teams nowadays have been moving towards in many areas.
Hmm. And when you give me that example, I can resonate with that particular thing. You mentioned about so many emails are coming, and instead of filtering it out, if AI can actually, sort of like summarize and tell me which are the ones that, because then we don't have to worry about the spam ones, because a lot of
Correct.
things are spam related, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So that really helps out at
Mhm.
the end of the day. Is it from a perspective of cybersecurity, how Gen AI has actually, I mean, you gave me an example of filtering it out, summarizing it.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about does it change the cybersecurity landscape?
So I'll put something in perspective here, right? So pre Gen AI era, pre Gen AI, assume there were 10 people working for 10 days to achieve, for example, to breach a website or to breach a network or any thing as a matter of fact. Okay. Now that thing is gone. Now, because of the introduction of Gen AI, you need only one person that can achieve the same thing that 10 people were doing for 10 days. And
Hmm,
that is the barrier that Gen AI has broken actually. Like it is becoming extremely easy for bad actors or cyber criminal
hmm,
to probably exploit anything. You might have heard of mythos, you might have heard of many vulnerabilities that people have exploited because
hmm,
of uh, AI being very accessible. The mythos is the reason because of that people were fuming. People were very hesitant what will happen to their infrastructure or vulnerabilities.
Hmm.
And this is how Gen AI is changing security.
Hmm.
I'll say it is being changed at both the ends.
Hmm.
Defenses are also being made stronger. Defenses are also being powered, enhanced, and powered with Gen AI technologies where and wherever it is possible. On the other
Hmm.
side, bad actors, even the offenses, are also even using it. So to
Hmm.
put things in perspective, for example, there is something called an attack surface. So assume you are going out on a vacation. Okay, you lock your windows, you lock your back door, you lock your bedroom door, you lock your main door, the grill, etc., everything, right? So there are probably 10 entry points into your house, and you block or you close all of those. The thief who
Correct.
wants to get into your house has only need to find one open window, one
Hmm.
unsafe lock, or anything.
Hmm.
Now let's expand this, or let's put it into perspective for an organization. An organization has, for example, tens of thousands of laptops, devices, routers, access points, Wi-Fi control points, card readers, data center, etc.
Hmm.
And those organizations need to secure everything, defend everything. Whereas
Hmm.
attacker just need to find one loophole to enter from one access point.
Hmm.
And this is how Gen AI is helping the bad actors to find that one spot to
Hmm.
get access to whatever network they're trying to breach here. Whereas
Hmm.
our as defenses, we have to guard all those entry points, all those access points to make sure nothing gets passed through.
Yeah, I always felt that hackers, irrespective of the bad actions that they are doing, they're very smart people. And
Mm-hmm.
let's not take the fact. So even if, for example, and we are very poor, and it is pre-gen when you have the torrent engine. I just want to tell
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people actually didn't know that they go. I mean, I'm not even talking about cyber cafes. Cyber cafes are the most once upon a time the most vulnerable. You go, you can crack anything at that point of a time of this
100%.
particular thing and all that stuff. The bad actors didn't even need that because your machine is connected to torrent to hundreds,
Correct.
and a lot of things stuff happens. I think organizations also probably, I'm not taking names, but they
Mm-hmm.
also have a lot to do in terms of security
100%.
when it
100%.
comes to actually at that point of a time. It's pretty poor actually, if you honestly ask me, and all
I
that
agree.
stuff. So hopefully certain things comes into light after the
Mhm.
GNA, I think. Fantastic. Talk a little bit more about the cyber threat that may come with this, the AI thing. There's some, tell me a little bit more. You mentioned a couple of
Sure.
the, yeah.
So let's take an example. You mentioned about emails, right? So you might
Hmm.
have seen a lot of phishing emails land to your inbox rather than spam,
Correct. Yes,
right?
yes,
So what is
yes.
happening here is earlier, like a couple of years back, if you see phishing emails, they had a lot of spelling mistakes,
Hmm.
formatting, the language was different. So it was very easy for even spam filters to identify. Spam is a filter. It
Correct.
identifies some patterns and then says this is a spam, and then moves it to your spam folder. Now,
Hmm.
even myself, if you see my inbox, I see some of spam emails coming to my inbox rather than they should be properly flagged.
Hmm.
And that is one of the threads that is you see pretty predominant here, right? Because of this, it is very easy for phishing,
Hmm.
easy to generate malwares, to fake
Hmm.
identities, to
Hmm.
automate recon. So I'll give you my own example. Okay, this is a year and a half back.
Hmm.
My real example, no fiction here. So I was
Hmm.
sitting in my living room having a coffee in the morning,
Hmm.
and I get a
Hmm.
call from an unknown number. I pick up that call,
Hmm.
sounded like my wife. There was a lot of,
Wow.
yeah, sounded a lot of background noise and everything. She says, transfer 25,000 at on
And
this number.
she is not there at your place. Like you.
I'll put in the story. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
complete it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it says transfer 25,000 right now. I am stuck in between, and the
Oh,
phone disconnects. I take two
she
seconds
says
and
it and it gets disconnected.
yes, yes.
Okay.
And then after 2 seconds, I realize she's upstairs having shower.
All right. All right.
So what happened here was people, we are humans, and
Hmm.
these actors or these bad actors don't exploit technology; they exploit psychology.
Hmm.
For example, if something is happening bad to our nears and dear ones, think we don't think twice,
Hmm.
and this is what they exploit. I'll give you many examples where this stuff has happened where they'll say I'm stuck somewhere, or I'm nephew, niece, or uncle, or whoever it is, and can you transfer me money, or etc. Or for example, they'll call the school saying their father or their mother had an accident. Can you please let the child go? And then they'll be kidnapped. So there are multiple scenarios here. And how this happened was, do you get those calls where you answer unknown number, you answer a call and nobody answers, and the call disconnects after a few seconds?
Hello,
So
hello,
what is,
hello.
yeah, so what is happening here is there are bots calling you who are recording your voice samples. And those voice samples are used to train a model that they can use or leverage whenever needed to for this type of attacks.
Yeah, that's exactly what Jason Bourne did in the Bourne Ultimatum or something.
Correct.
He cracked the safe case with that particular thing and all that.
Yeah. And this is where it is going, actually.
Yeah,
I'll give another example of a phishing attack that happened, right? A few college students got email from a HR company.
Okay, just for
HR,
our viewers, Dr. Dijesh, if you can just, what is phishing?
So, phishing is exactly like phishing. You bait somebody to give you whatever you want, and they give it with their own will.
They give their own?
With their own will.
Achha,
You are not
okay.
forcing them. You are not kidnapping them. Anything. They'll give you from their own will.
Achha, okay. Okay.
Yes. So it is same as phishing, but this is the digital era.
Achha, okay. Please continue. Yeah.
So I'll give an example of phishing attack, for example. So assume you are a college student, final year, you get an email from a company HR saying this is your revised salary letter, you are selected, etc., etc. Please go through the PDF and let us know if everything is okay. Now the email looks perfect. The correct logo, the correct writing style, the signature is correct. The timing is also correct because they are final year students. They are just going to graduate out of the college, etc. And the person clicks, nothing happens, nothing looks like the PDF is okay. However, when they click that PDF, a malware got installed into the system. Malware is kind of an unwanted program that can run into your computer, that can corrupt your computer, that can lock your computer, encrypt your system, or start sending data to some IP address in China or wherever it is. Now, this happened with thousands of students. And this data was being collected and sent to some servers out of India now.
Okay.
And people, what they do is people like, I have seen a lot of this ideas where what students say is we don't have any money. Correct. What will they do with our data? But they don't have money, but they have an identity. And their identity is very important here. Because using their identity, anything can happen. You see stolen cars, stolen phones, stolen bank credentials. For example, you might get $2 million into your account and you land in a soup because that money was routed from a student's account and that was money for some drugs or anything, etc. So anyway, you land into some trouble there. And this is what this data that is being pushed or getting extracted is being sent. So students should also be careful. They might not have money today, but they have that identity that can be exploited very easily.
Yeah. So a lot of things, Dr. Dijesh. I mean, you mentioned something about psychology, emotions. There are people, they target, for example, housewives or people who are looking out for work from home jobs.
Yes.
And they're so vulnerable because they need a job. So they will probably say at that point of a time, deposit this and will 500 rupees, they will start off and slowly but gradually they will escape. Kind of a thing. So psychology of emotions, you tap the one who are vulnerable, who are basically desperate enough at that point of a time. I remember doing an immigration at one of the countries that I visited. So while I think I was just with my family and my friend had just walked off and they stopped me. And this lady was looking at my passport. So when she was cross-checking my passport a little, so I was like, okay, that doesn't happen many times. What happened? She said, you wait. Now, when she said wait, I was like, oh, this is a foreign country. I have seen a lot of movies. I'm a little stressed. So what happens at that point of time? She says, she goes to her senior and she calls me. So now my family and all that, and I have to catch another flight. But of course, this is the first time I'm panicking, right? At that point of it. I'm thinking now today, what if they would have asked me money and all that? Anyway, she goes and then she checks in another system, probably that system data, and then she says, go. So when I come back and all that years later and all that, so my passport, probably the first name and all that, maybe something had some
Correct.
similarity. It was marked, some sort of a thing at that point of a time, this stuff and this thing, lot of issues may happen, right? It's so scary. And when you're traveling with your family, two little kids, you have watched so many Hollywood movies, you're like whatever might happens and all, you just tap them and you take the money and all that stuff for that
Mhm.
matter. So yeah, you are correct when you say at that point of a time. uh, there's so much of AI generated content today,
Mhm.
right? How do you decipher that this is an AI generated content or not? People, the one of the things that people say that, because as someone told me other, because when it is easy money,
Hmm.
people tend to get. I'm sitting at home, man. I just do this. Same went to the psychology of credit card, because it was like just swipe, is
Yeah.
done. You don't have to get. That's how it actually built up. Now, with so much of AI generated content, um, are phishing attacks becoming more dangerous?
100%. So you mentioned this thing, right? So anything that is too good to be true,
Hmm.
don't trust it. Because what happens is, for example, there might be an email in your inbox, and we all have that email. Some
Hmm.
sheikh in Dubai or some millionaire
Hmm.
or billionaire in US died, and they left you there, or everything.
Hmm.
And they'll call you. You send you their address. They say, I'm at the Delhi airport, and you come and give me this. Send me this money first, and then maybe I'll come and. So these are all scams that have happened since years, since ages.
Hmm.
Now they have been powered by AI now.
Hmm.
So I'll give another example how AI powered phishing works, or how deep fakes are being used. So there's a company in Singapore. It was a big use case that happened a year and a half back. So there was a Teams call. It was from the CEO. It was to their whole leadership, their CFO, their CTO, their VPs, etc. Everybody gets onto that call, and they start talking about multiple things, and the CFO is there, everything there. Now the CEO says, we are trying to get this deal, and he guides the CFO to transfer some amount, $25 million, to that person's bank account. The CFO does everything is good, and the next day, this is a big news now. The reason, except the CFO, everybody was a deep fake, and this was happening live call, real time call on Teams.
Wow.
Except the CFO, everybody was fake. And
You want to please explain to our viewers in simple term what is deep fake?
so deep fake is an AI generated video or an image of you talking like you, having your expressions and assuming your identity.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is a digital version of you, but not exactly you. It is copied version of you.
Okay.
And the CFO transferred the money, and it was a big news the next day itself. So you now understand, these are the ones that came out. There are many smaller ones that are not
Hmm.
in public domain as well, but there are things happening
Companies
every
will
day.
also hide a lot of things, right,
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Dinesh? Yeah.
No, but private companies, public companies, because of they have regulations and compliance to maintain, they do have to bring this to the authorities notice.
Yeah.
However, smaller
Absolutely.
ones who are not under their purview, they still go. They do not report it because of their reputation, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
is this is very adamant. The predominant nowadays. Now everything is. Uh, so there is a terminology, right? Verify first,
Hmm.
and then prove it later.
Yeah.
So everything
Yeah.
you need to verify. You receive a
Yeah.
call from an unknown number, like for example, if it is a family member, okay, disconnect, call them, call on their original number.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that trust factor should only happen after you verify it.
Hmm.
Currently,
Hmm.
what we do is we trust, and then we'll say we'll verify afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
That has to. This is the terminology that we have in security: verify first, trust later.
True. True. True.
And I'll give a small analogy here, because you mentioned, I mentioned behavior and psychology, right? So security is
Hmm.
95% common sense.
Hmm.
It is
Hmm.
for the rest 5%. We have tools, technologies, software, processes, etc. All these things that we have is for the 5%. The
Hmm.
rest 95% can easily be blocked if
Hmm.
we are vigilant. we put our common sense in everything,
mm.
then there is very good chance we will be able to stop anything from happening.
True, very true. And the number of ads that you saw on Instagram selling products. I don't want to go into all these things at that point of a time. And, everything seems to, your order has been delivered, blah, blah, blah. Nothing, two rocks have been sent across this thing and all that stuff. Um, Dr. Dinesh, we spoke about how AI is helping attackers, right? And we spoke about it. We can go on speaking a lot about this thing. Tell me um, how it helps defenders.
Okay, I'll take your own example. You spoke about airport security. You
Yeah,
were there. Huh? So, for
mm,
example, airport security will not frisk every passenger.
correct.
They'll only find somebody who deserves more attention there.
Yeah.
In terms of they
Mm,
might be flagged or something. The same
mm,
happens with defense where they are using AI. So AI will filter all those millions of events and records and alerts, and
mm,
then say this is where you should start. This is the needle in the haystack. This is where you should put your attention to. Rest all is all noise. Earlier what used to happen was we or defenders would be burdened up in all those alerts. By the time we reach to where we have to reach, the damage is already done.
mm,
Now it is very easy to directly go, this is where the problem is, this is where something is happening, and we can start mitigating that problem or risk there itself. And this is where AI is helping defenders largely at huge scale. Almost every organization that has the presence and that is diligently wanting to secure everything, they are using it left, right, and center.
mm. So in real time threat detection and then incident response. Can you just give me an example of that? How AI does that? Threat
So,
detection.
so this
Mm,
real time is very subjective here. There is nothing
mm,
called as real time. It is almost
mm,
near real time.
mm. Okay.
And let's take an example, right? Uh, you are in India today.
Mm,
You get a call from your bank credit card department saying, "Did you try to do some transaction?"
mm,
If it was you, then they say it's okay, and then
mm,
you can go ahead and do the transaction. Else, they'll say, "Report something. This is fraud happening."
mm,
Why
mm,
was this triggered? Because
mm,
in the evening today, you ordered food via Zomato using a credit card.
mm,
You are India.
mm,
Within the next half an hour or 1 hour, how could you swipe your credit card at a POS store in
mm,
Dubai, that too physically?
mm.
That is not
Correct.
possible, right?
Yeah.
And this is where this almost near real time thing is discovered. Even before that is processed, even before that is credited to the account, they have
Mm,
blocked it. That transaction did not go ahead, it was blocked. That is the reason you received a call from the bank mentioning, "Sir,
mm,
was that you?" If that was you, then
mm,
they'll remove that flag. Okay, this is the person who is trying to do, and the next time
mm,
it will go through.
mm,
Now these are some of the checks and balances where AI
mm,
is being here, machine learning models are being deployed to make sure, because major loss that we all dread is financial loss here.
mm,
And this is how financial institutions are uh, using for threat detection,
mm,
investigation, response, to make sure something is stopped even before it happens.
mm, mm. Yes. Way back, I think 8 years back or 9 years back, I was in Bangalore at that point of a time, and I get a message on my phone that I think it was in Sydney or in New Zealand, my card was swiped. So I called up the HDFC, the bank, and I told them that this is. So he said, "Are you in this part?" I said, "Ma'am, you can check my location. I'm in India." But the fact of the matter is, couple of months back, I was in at Australia, New Zealand at that
Uh-huh.
point of a time,
Mhm.
and I'm just thinking about it that this was where my card actually that this was basically it is correct that I used a card over in that place. So they stored my those details here. But fortunately for me, it was a valid reason. So I reported it. They did not charge me this particular thing. But I sensed it and immediately blocked my card. And
Uh-huh.
but the fact of the matter, and since then, there are a lot of checks and balances been put, such as you can enable or disable the international transactions.
Yes.
When I'm in India, I always disable it because what's the point? Like I'm not,
Correct.
this thing. Why? So there are a lot of things people actually don't know.
Correct.
That knowledge. They don't know that, somebody you mentioned about the students saying, I don't have money, what will happen? But you did that passport, that Aadhaar card number, you can use it for a lot of purposes actually. People don't know
Mm.
about it,
Mm.
right? So yeah. So we used mentioned a lot of the benefits. You mentioned a lot of where AI in cybersecurity can be a great boon kind of a thing for that. Can you also talk me a little bit about where do you see the limitations of AI, at least for the moment in
Sure.
cybersecurity?
Sure. Sure. So I'll give an example, right? AI is like a GPS for me.
Okay.
So assume you are driving your car, you have your GPS on, and
Hmm.
it takes you to a lake and it says now you cross the lake from your car. Will you do it? The same thing is AI. AI will show you the path. However, you'll
Hmm.
have to be diligent. You'll have to question that.
Hmm.
Is it helpful for me or not?
Hmm. Hmm.
No AI model, no prediction is 100% accurate. We all know that. There is no AI that is 100% accurate here. They tend to make mistakes. And that
Hmm.
is the reason there should always be a human in the loop to verify, to correct, and to provide those guardrails to make sure they don't go left, right, center, or haywire.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that is where human judgment, that person comes in. We need to bring back the human in the process here. And this is one of the biggest limitations that, and I mentioned earlier, right? People trust AI blindly.
Hmm.
And that is one of the biggest mistakes people have been doing. You might have seen people sharing their passwords, sharing their API keys, sharing their tokens, etc.
Hmm.
Everything. I'll
Hmm.
give an example, right, of a very interesting one. So this is
Hmm.
an original college in India. I'll not name the state or the college name to for other purposes now. So what
Hmm.
happened was some students went to ChatGPT or any AI model, I'll say. What they did was they attached previous year exam papers, their textbook PDF, and they said, "These are my previous year papers. This is my textbook. Generate the same format question paper that is possible that might come for the next exam that I am appearing for." They get it. They
Hmm.
go for the exam. They sit. Everybody scores 90 plus. Now there is another side of the story here. The same thing was done by the professor, where the professor took
Wow.
the same thing and professor said, write a question paper that I can set for the next exam. Now what happened here was the question paper was set and the same thing was used to train the model. Now the question paper sits with the model, and when the students asked for the question paper, they got the same or the similar question paper, and they were able to pass everything. And then when later this was discovered, all the students, all the professors, now we cannot blame anybody here. Everybody were using AI for their own good, but they probably forgot to use their brain in that
Hmm.
scenario.
Hmm.
Students, obviously, student will find the loopholes everywhere, and we as
Yes.
educators, we as professors, we as teachers need to
Hmm.
be vigilant here, need to understand how are we using it. And that did not work very well for that professor and the college, and the college had to grant those marks. They cannot say we'll not grant you those marks now.
Yeah. And then are they going to file a case in the court or
That I
something?
don't know. So this same thing happened. I'll give another instance now, because where this limitations comes in, right?
Hmm.
There were three companies who were bidding for a tender. This is an actual scenario, okay? Company A filed some amount, company B, company C, they all gave some amount for the bid. Now what happened was company A had their data, they put it to any AI model, say what should we quote, then they verified and this is their quote. For example, the quote was 100 crores. Let's take an example. Now what company B did was company B said, I am bidding for this tender. Company A and C are my competitor. This is my quote. Now what should I quote to make sure I win this tender? The company B quoted 95 crores.
Okay.
It was 5 crores lesser than company A, and they
Okay.
won this. They won this bid. They got the tender now.
Hmm.
Both of them were using the same model.
Hmm.
When company A derived that 100 crore number, they use that same model and it was trained. Now,
Mm.
for example, any model, ChatGPT or Claude knows company A was filing for a tender and this is their tender amount. Now,
Mm.
whenever company B went and was preparing their own pitch or their own proposal, they found out, or the AI model suggested, this is what you should quote now. And
Okay.
because this is the problem, when you use free tools where you don't, you are
Mm.
not paying for it, your data is also free. Your data is freely used. You cannot stop that.
Mm. Mm.
And
Correct.
this is how company A lost a big tender because of some foolish mistakes of some of their executives or people who were preparing that tender. And
Yeah.
this is one of the biggest limitations, right? We blindly trust anything because it is free.
Mm.
We are okay.
Mm.
People upload their bank statements, their credit card information, their family information. Anyway, half of our life or completely of our life is on social media.
Absolutely.
And after that you put your health information, your personal information out there. It is
Mm.
like giving your front door keys to people
Mm.
who you don't want
Mm.
into your house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You're correct when you mentioned about it. And that, I mean, people log into Instagram in the morning first, then they brush their teeth. So that's the truth. So interesting, very interesting. Um, Somebody who started his career in technical writing and
Hmm.
somebody who has seen for the last 25 years in this, and somebody who runs a sort of an organization of my own. I see a lot of people, a lot of tech writers using tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, and all
Hmm.
thing. Now, I don't think these models that you're talking, they're any day going to put out a disclaimer saying that we are not 100% correct and all that sort of a thing. I don't know if they will put up, but from your from your understanding, from your perspective, what should this professional think about cybersecurity when they're using tools like this?
So I when I so I'll give an example. That you being a content writer, you understand, right? Nowadays, everybody who writes, even emails, smaller emails like 2 line emails, also they go to any model or copilot to generate that.
Hmm.
So now there is no human touch there. There is no
Correct.
feeling left in that message, in that text, or in that conversation that is happening now.
Hmm.
And that is the reason, for example, people who, for example, I when I used to write 2 3 paragraphs. Now people, if I start writing huge length emails, they understand this is not the people, the just that I know.
Yeah.
They lose me in the first paragraph itself because it is that machine, that monotonous. There is no feeling
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
And nowadays people are pretty smart. They understand if this has been written by an AI tool or not.
Hmm.
Because I have my own behavior. How do I write? I make
Hmm.
mistakes. I have a way of writing. I have a way of emoting things when I write also.
Hmm.
And that is being lost. You can train a model to mimic me, but that is still 100% accurate. If I am writing an email today and I'm pretty pissed on somebody, that emotion will come into my email.
Hmm.
Even if I'm happy and I'm writing that, that emotion will show in whatever I'm writing. So that emotion is being lost now, and that isn't people. Those emails, those blogs, everything has become too machine.
Hmm.
People read the first paragraph and say, no, this is BS, and then they leave it and they don't
Yeah.
come back there. And this is where content writers like you, right? People,
Hmm.
you are the ones who need to educate people. I myself write a lot of
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
I also wrote a
Hmm.
book a few months back also. So people
Hmm.
who write, they also need to educate people. You can use it for grammar or constructing or putting your complex thought in a simple
Hmm.
manner. But then you need to go and change the words, change the language, change the nomenclature for your audience
Hmm.
to understand, or people who are you writing to
Hmm.
understand.
Hmm.
For example, if I'm writing something to uh, somebody who is very naive or very whose understanding of English is pretty basic, and if I put heavy words here like any AI model does, they'll not understand that, and they'll start losing context. They'll not understand me. And that is where people like you or people like me should write the first draft by their hands and then refine it, and then if they feel okay, this is something, then send it. Yes, it is okay to use these tools, that is not an issue, but by default the first draft, whatever comes from these tools, and copy and paste and then send, is where things are not working for many people.
Yeah. So if this trend continues, I don't see much of many of these writers. been able to write a sentence after 6 months.
So I
You know,
so you all know, we all know Ekta Kapoor, right? She writes this the Indian
yeah.
daily soaps, right? So
Mm,
there was a press conference that she was there, and she mentioned, "I leave my job
mm.
the day any AI model starts writing Kiki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi or Nagin or etc." And this is a fact, Rajdeep. This is a fact. That people who have their own signature style of writing or doing things, none
Yeah,
of the models will be able to. For example, imagine writing a Kyunki
yeah,
Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi where a character dies 7 times
yeah.
and come back 8 times, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this reminds me. This basically, Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite
Yes.
directors, and the opening scene of Inglorious Bastards.
Yes.
That was a monologue of this thing. I
Correct.
don't think any AI can write that script.
No, that is the
Forget
thing.
about. Yeah. I mean, just a fact. And if
Yeah.
you watch his right from Reservoir Dogs, that opening scene
Correct.
that he wrote to him, I mean, he's a script writer
Correct.
by the justice. So if um, and the fun and the enjoyment, right, kind of a thing. If he, remember that scene with Vincent Vega and this thing in the car with that scenes, that kind of a scene. Where do you get that kind of
Correct.
stuff
Correct.
written here for
Uh,
that
AI,
matter?
AI can give you templates, but they will never
Hmm.
replace that creative thought process of thinking. They can never replace.
And which is also a little ironical because I see some of the companies where I get to hear a lot of times where people are, firing technical writers or not only tech writers. I'm not, they're firing up certain people, certain teams, and all that. And I
Mm.
remember one of the hiring manager telling this that let it happen like this. We don't need so many people. If
Mm.
we will use AI to get the draft initially, then we'll do XYZ kind of an editing. And if the client, and if the client comes back to us, and if they say that they don't like, then we will consider. Now,
Correct.
you it's purely a knowledge. And another version of another employer who told me, I mean, these are students of mine who get to work on certain companies without naming those companies. This is a these people they told us that they will not fire us, but
Mm.
having said that, they stopped the hiring trend. Now
Correct.
they are getting a Claude or these things $200 per month per user, which
Max.
is like 2400 a year. So let's see how much a technical writer is going to, come at that point of a time. So you understood where it is
Yes.
going
Yes.
and then all
Yes.
that sort
Yes.
of a thing at that point of it. And I always keep on saying, this is a typical mindset of, crappy, shady work. I mean,
I agree.
that's how all this outsourcing thing happened, right? In this thing. If US comes tomorrow and said we are going to give you so much of work, you don't do it in AI. All these people will go for it. This thing, no, 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 forget about
Correct.
AI. We are going to hire. And tomorrow
Correct.
only 20, 30 people will hire, right? That
I
kind of a
agree.
thing actually comes here. So this is very then. You spoke about educating. A kind of a thing for that. So, what do you think the organizations are doing to educate employees about AI risk and all that? Are they
I
doing
don't.
anything?
I don't think they are doing enough,
Hmm.
because every organization, because that is a part of their compliance checklist where they need to do make a phishing attack once a year. So they send phishing emails to people, and people
Hmm.
who click on that, they have
Hmm.
been bugged, and then they have to go through a training, etc.
Yeah,
But
the
now,
online training. Yeah.
but now
Hmm.
AI is evolving every month. Every day
Hmm.
something new is coming, and you doing this once a year will not help.
Hmm.
Your training, your how do you respond to this, uh, and how do you make sure it becomes a continuous learning or continuous change for everybody. This is not a
Hmm.
one day activity where you do this once a year and then you keep it aside and then again next year.
Hmm.
There are, because people are being lured into this many of things. Actually, I gave you some examples that are happening, right? And
Hmm.
people might not even be aware what is happening in the industry or outside their own state or the country. So people have to be educated, trained about this, so that at least they don't fall into this thing. And if they don't, then they can also help their family members, their neighbors, their colleagues to also not get into this trap.
Correct. You spoke about compliance, you spoke about policies. Um, can you tell me, like, what role does compliance play in AI adoption? Or
Okay.
what would a typical compliance and all that thing, if you
So
can give that?
for me, a compliance is like a seatbelt in a car.
Hmm,
It will not prevent an accident,
hmm,
but it will make sure the damage is minimum.
okay, okay.
Right. So that
Hmm,
is how it will be. There is no infrastructure, no network that is secure. It is just waiting for that time or somebody to get into it and get it hacked or encrypted or some activity to happen. It is going to happen someday, not today, tomorrow, or day after someday. Now, this compliance checks, this compliance framework is something that will make sure our blast radius or our exposure is minimum, or we are not directly, even if we are impacted, our damage is minimum.
okay,
And this is how compliance works in current industry today.
okay. So, the managers and technology leaders, when they're implementing, the Gen AI in their organization, what are the some of the things that they keep it in mind, or they need to keep in mind, the leaders when they're implementing Gen AI?
So what happens is people who buy this subscription, you mentioned the $200, right?
Hmm,
They'll buy it, but
hmm,
buying that without changing the process will not help you. And
hmm,
it is like getting an annual membership for a gym and expecting muscles coming out automatically from the next day. That is not how it is, right? You have to change your process. You have to also change your routine. Go wake up in the
hmm,
morning,
hmm,
go to gym, have a good diet. The same thing is with AI. You buy a
hmm,
subscription, but
hmm,
now you have to train your people how to use it, how
hmm,
to write prompts, how to
hmm,
refine your prompts, how to use that output in a way that you
hmm.
want it. That process also has to be changed or developed or inculcated in the organization itself. And this is what leaders today are not doing it. They just want to be on the same bandwagon where if the world is moving towards AI or using cloud, we'll also use cloud.
Hmm.
And that is where most of the organizations are failing, I'll say. And then they come back to their
Hmm.
original way of working where they don't
Hmm.
want AI,
Hmm.
they'll hire their people back,
Yeah. Hmm.
and then they start working again.
Yeah, that I have seen a lot of this thing happening here. So
Correct.
right now he's using, I'm also going to using. Once it fails, call up all the people and all that sort of a thing. So
Yeah.
this has happened at that point of a time. Um, Dr. Drijesh, fantastic session with you so far. Tell me some of the cybersecurity skills that you know um, that will become more valuable to the AI-driven future in the
So,
AI-driven
so,
future.
so cybersecurity is a domain, right?
Hmm.
So to succeed, probably I'll say there are a few non-technical skills that people should have, and people
Hmm.
having these skills will be able to survive better,
Hmm.
even if you don't know most of the tools. First is critical thinking.
Hmm.
The next would be risk analysis,
Hmm.
communication,
Hmm.
understanding the business that you are working with. How
Hmm.
do you prompt the AI model? So these are some of the best skills that will help any cybersecurity analyst or people who are into cybersecurity, or as a matter of fact, anybody who is foraying into the industry. These are the non-tech, non-AI skills that will help
Hmm.
them survive and be at a edge from their competitors, I'll say, according to me.
That also brings me to a question that I want to. So let's say, for example, anyone who's listening to us, a tech writer or someone, a professional who wants to make a career in cybersecurity and Gen AI for that matter. What course does he need to go to, or is there any sort of a program that he needs to go or she needs to go in order to make a career in in this field?
So I'll give an example again, right? When ATMs came in,
Hmm.
did they eliminate bankers? The answer is no. They changed the banking jobs.
Hmm.
The same way, AI will not replace or not AI will not eliminate these jobs, for example cybersecurity or IT. This is a transition phase where it will change into something else. Now, tech stack comes and goes every certain period of time. Whereas the skills that I mentioned, right? For example, all those, even problem solving skills, this is something that no AI tool can solve today. I give you a problem. I give, for
mm,
example, Claude, ChatGPT, Anthropic, or anybody that problem.
mm,
They'll not be able to understand. I tell them I want this specific thing to happen by this way. This is the way how it has to be done. But who is
mm,
going to tell them how it is to be done? What needs to be solved? It is people like
mm,
us.
mm.
And this is where problem solving skills, that critical thinking of how do I solve this problem, is very, very much in demand currently. People who can do this are getting paid whatever they want left and center.
Mm.
This is how these jobs are evolving now. You mentioned AI tech writers or content writers, etc. Right now, their jobs are evolving such a way where anyway AI models are writing this, but to make sure they are writing into the standards, the guidelines of that organization. Every organization has their own guidelines of writing certain things, their documentation, their website, etc. Now, is that following that and training that model to make sure anything that comes out of that organization, any piece, content piece, is in the same format or has the same storytelling like what that organization wants. This is where it is moving. This is a transition phase actually, and this is the reason we are seeing a lot of shift in the industry today. But this will certainly settle down in the next upcoming years.
For another couple of years, in another 5 years down the line.
5 years, not that is too far. I'll say 2-3 years is the max.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because 3 years back, people probably, I'll say, laid off 200 people company and they had 20 AI agents doing their jobs. Now, last year, that same company hired all 200 people back. Now, that
Why,
is the trend.
why did they do that? If you have to pinpoint two or
It,
three reasons.
it did not work for them because
Hmm,
when you trust a AI agent or AI model to do everything,
hmm,
I'll take another example. Right? For example, people or developers who use any AI model to write code. If I
hmm,
have to change something if I have to do it manually, that is one line of code.
hmm.
However, when you ask the same models to do this change, they'll write 20 lines of code. Now,
Right.
they might have wrote it 20 lines, but for me to manage that code in the upcoming future becomes very difficult. For that one line, now I have 20 lines. For a simple
Hmm,
program that if a human writes would be 20, 50, 100 lines, whereas the same if a model writes, it is 500,000 lines now. Now,
hmm,
managing that redundant code is very
hmm,
difficult for anybody. The same thing
hmm,
happened with many organizations where they gave those agents certain tasks and they started writing code.
hmm,
Now, 20% of the time, it hallucinates and it
hmm,
wrote something else. Now, for you to replace or check where that 20% failure is and
hmm,
go and change that is very difficult.
hmm,
You need to first find where the problem is.
hmm.
After finding that problem, that solving might take another couple of months or years. And this is the same thing that happened. Rather than making their life easier, it made it difficult for them.
Correct. So you see this happening in the coming years. A
Yes,
lot
it
of
has.
companies
It
getting
has
that.
started. It has started
It is
happening.
started.
It has started
Okay.
happening.
All right. Um, so we call these people intelligent people.
Self-proclaimed intelligent people.
Uh, okay, so I mean, I think you have answered this, but since I'm going to ask you a couple of cybersecurity mistakes that you have seen intelligent people repeatedly make.
So intelligent people, I'll give some examples. Right? They think they are over smart
Hmm,
and they assume they cannot be hacked.
hmm,
I know very big liars, doctors, police officers, industrialists, engineers who have fallen prey to this.
hmm,
So overconfidence is a bigger risk than ignorance here, I'll say.
hmm,
And I mentioned that people or bad actors exploit this psychology. They understand the human psychology better, and that is the reason they fall prey to all these things. So this is the biggest mistake that intelligent people do here, I'll say.
I think I So a couple of days back or a couple of months back, I had got a call from someone, and he
Mm-hmm.
said that, look, one of your goods has been caught and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and we are going to actually this thing, call and all. So I said, who's calling? He said he gave it to someone. He said, I'm a cop from this thing. I said, which police station?
Mm.
So he went a little aggressive and he said, come to the webcam, all that stuff. I said, I can come to the camp, not an issue, but which police station? So he said,
Mm.
mention. I said, okay, let's wait for a while because I'm right now near to that police station. I'll give it to the police inspector. He's a good friend of mine. So let's
Mm.
talk. So turned on the webcam. He looked at me. He just looked at me and he said, really want to go ahead with this? And he disconnected the call.
This
So
digital arrest
it's
scams are pretty big
yeah,
nowadays.
yeah, actually at that point of it, and oh, it's fantastic session so far, Dr. Drigesh. Thank you so much. And before we end, I have a quick rapid fire round with you.
Okay.
Karan Johar would have given you a coffee hamper. I don't have a coffee
It's
hamper
okay.
for you and all that stuff. So the first question to you, one cybersecurity habit everyone should adopt.
I'll say two habits here.
Yeah.
First is have a different password for everything. Don't use the same password everywhere. And second is enable multi-factor two-factor authentication.
Okay. One AI tool that is worth exploring.
I'll say ChatGPT or Claude, not because they'll replace you, but because they'll teach you how AI thinks.
Okay. All right. Um, ChatGPT Premium would be so premium. One cybersecurity myth people still believe.
Okay. People believe smaller companies are not targets. Actually, they are the easiest targets because their defenses are way weaker than the bigger ones.
So, what are the systems getting affected, or what is it like? Which
No,
are
because smaller companies think they are too small for anybody to attack, and they don't have all those compliances or checks and balances in place to secure the whole infrastructure. And
Hmm.
anybody who has that knack of, okay, let me try going inside, and they'll be easily able to break the smaller companies.
Okay. All right. Um, one emerging threat professional should watch.
Deep fakes and AI generated voice scams. Like I gave you my example at the
Yeah.
CFO CEO one and the call that I received. So
Hmm.
be vigilant about those things.
Yeah. Also, I think you need to, tell your wife some password or some security key that
So,
whenever you are
so,
in stress, you
so
should have an SOS cat.
my family already has that. My
Yeah.
family WhatsApp group has that, so they are all pretty safe now.
You are extra vigilant. One skill that will remain valuable in no matter how much advanced AI systems.
I'll say curiosity, because
Hmm,
technology is supposed to change, but your
hmm,
curiosity should not. And
hmm.
people who keep learning will always stay relevant in any scenario, I'll say.
Absolutely. And any books that you would recommend people to read in terms of cybersecurity or Gen AI, or something that you would recommend everyone to read?
So what I do is I don't ask people to read books or anything. I ask them to read newspapers, because this is where you'll find the gold mine of all this information. For example, people who were attacked, there will be politicians, there'll be bankers, there'll be police officers, what was used, how they were lewd, etc. And this is where you get that all that information: newspapers, online blogs, all these news bites that we have. So this shows what is currently happening in the books. Will say something that had happened in the past or something that will happen in the future, but what is currently happening now is what we should be aware of, and also make sure our family members, our near adherents, are also aware of all these things.
Fantastic. Would you like to say a few parting words for all the listeners out there? Some of them are tech writers and all that sort of a thing. Would you like to say something to them who are
Sure,
listening to you?
sure. So I'll close with this, right? So let's go back a few thousand years. When fire was created, it was for warmth, but it cannot
Mm,
possibly also burn you. The
mm,
same thing is electricity. Electricity can be used to power hospitals, but it can
mm.
also electrocute you. Internet transformed humanity, but it also brought in cybercrime.
Yep.
The same thing is AI now. It is
Mm,
simply the next powerful technology that we have at our disposal. And
mm.
our future won't be determined by AI itself. It will be determined how responsibly we use this, or how responsibly we choose to build with it, govern it, and
Mm.
use it. In right hands, it is a boon, but in wrong hands, we all know what would happen there.
Fantastic. So if I was in the, in UP or Bihar, or in Delhi for that matter, the most famous words, तुम्हें मालूम है तुम्हारा बाप कौन है?
कौन है?
So I guess it will get तुम्हें मालूम है तुम किससे बात कर रहे हो यार?
Correct.
So I guess AI can also answer that. Dr. Dijesh, thank you so much. I hope we didn't with our questions and the kind of discussion that we had. This is the first of the many. I hope to have you in one of our future podcasts. For many of our listeners who are very new to cybersecurity, or let us say for people who have been using AI, as you said, without even to get their everything done. For example, what to get from a shop to transfer this thing, they're putting everything on AI. Chat GPT for that matter, I have this much in the bank, tell me what should I write, how should I diversify and all that. That should be an eye opener for a lot of, and we just hope that people take people do understand that AI was supposed to, we need to use AI as very responsibly, because we created a monster, and it is going to actually devour you unless and until we're very careful about how we are going to actually use this. There,
Yeah.
and just like everything which has got its good and bad side of it, we need to be careful about how we use AI responsibly. And so, so just to ask you once again, can AI secure our future, or what do you think at that point of a time, at this point of a time, sort of a thing? I'll leave it for the users to listen to our conversation and make it up what they have to say about it. But thank you so much, Dr. Drijesh. It was fantastic having you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Radhi, for having me, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And I had fun talking to you today.
Thank you, Dr. Drijesh.